Okay, Dan here, Hardwood Hollow Bushcraft. Just going to make a quick video on how to identify fatwood. There's a lot of videos on fatwood out there on the web, so I figured I'd throw my hat into the ring. I found this log at a buddy's firewood pile the other day and noticed that there was a good supply of fatwood on it, so I snagged it from him. So let me set the camera and I'll show you what we're looking at here, okay? Okay, what first caught my eye was this damage right here in the log. And generally when you find a piece of firewood that has damage like this, that's often a good place on a piece of pine. And this particular piece happens to be a piece of bull pine. And the bull pine is the pine tree that gives off all those little tiny pine cones, and you'll see them sometimes and they are just loaded down like you wouldn't believe. Well, that also makes them susceptible to damage very easily. So the piece of wood itself on this side is actually kind of rotted, and you can see the dry rot look on it down here. But when you come to this side where the damage is, you notice that gray, almost cedar-like color, and across here and across here, and that's a good indicator that there can be fatwood behind that. So I'm going to back the camera up here so I don't damage it, and then I'm going to use my hammer and my wedge. I'm doing this out in the garage because it decided to dump another inch and a half of snow on us, and it's still coming down, so I just don't feel like doing it outside. So let me get this set up and we'll go ahead and split that piece and take a look at it, see what we got. Alright, here we go. We're going to split this piece off here with the wedge and the hammer. Actually, let me throw my ear pro on and eye pro. Ear and eye protection is always important when working with this stuff. You don't want any metal fragments coming off your wedge, and you don't want any wood fragments coming off and hitting you in the eyes either. So get all the appropriate protective gear on. So I got my gloves, eye pro, ear pro, 3-pound sledge, and a big wedge. Let's see if we can't split this piece off here. Alright, so there's the rotten piece. Get that out of there. Now this is what we're looking for right in here. You see this dark color right here? This dark color right here is what we're looking for. That's a seam of fatwood right there. You're always going to find also a lot of these trees, when they're still living, you can come right behind the bark and you shave the bark off but leave the inner skin, and there's almost always a very thin layer of fatwood right behind the skin. So let's see if we can't knock another chunk of this off here. We want to go behind where we see the fatwood, so I see the fatwood out to about here. So let's go behind that a little bit. Now I had a knot down at the bottom holding that together. That's another place. See that knot hole right there? Almost every knot in a pine tree, you got a branch that comes out of a pine tree that's been broke off. Almost every one of those knots, and that dark color right there in that knot hole, that's actually a little bit of fatwood. That's where the resin has settled in and built up. So let's see, let's come back over to about here. I'll take this again. Alright, we're getting there. When you get into the fatwood too, it'll have a very distinct odor. Alright, let's come back to about here. Split this guy off again. Alright, get her in frame here. And I think I'm going to go about here. Ah, there we go. Look at that color. That right there, that dark, very resiny color, give it a smell. You'll get that very strong, a lot of people say it's a turpentine smell. I don't really smell the turpentine in it, because when I think turpentine, I think paint thinner. But it has that exceptionally strong pine smell. The reason that they say it has a turpentine smell, here's the other half of it. You can see that very dark color in there. And it's super dark right here. This part right at the injury is super duper resinous right in there. In fact, it's so resinous it's sticky. The reason they say it has a turpentine smell is because it contains a chemical called terpene, and terpene is the chemical from the pine tree that is actually used to extract and manufacture turpentine. So that's used for you know, like paint thinner and that sort of thing. So there we go. There's a pretty good quantity of fatwood in here. You can see, like I said, that really dark color and that really strong smell. And wow, that just smells great. So there you go. There's some fatwood. I actually have a couple other pieces. I'm going to bring a piece up and show. And that was taken from a knot from a rotted tree. So I'll be right back with that. Okay, here we go. I'll move these logs aside here. Now, when I was getting ready to throw out the extra pieces there, I found this chunk on the damaged part of the log. And the reason I saved it is, you see that dark color there? Well, all this dark color here and up here on this bark, that's actually pine tar or pitch or sap. And you can actually scrape that off, and that is extremely flammable. Plus there's a little knot right here, and that little knot will be fatwood also. I was telling you about the knots. This is a knot that I cut out of a tree. Now this is very, very old. Now here's where the branch is coming out, and this was this big kind of a bulb that had grown around it to help heal. Now there is a little bit, you can see some little really dark spots here. There's a little tiny bit of fatwood in here, but what's great about this is it's a punky wood. So you could actually use that for once it's good and dry, and this is pretty doggone dry, but it's very, very spongy. See, I can push it in on the edge there. That'll hold a spark, so you could actually use it as is, or you could even put it in a tin and char it and make it into a charred punkwood, which will take a spark and hold a spark really well with a flint and steel. And then this is a nub of a branch that I cut off, and it was right on the outside edge of the tree. And when I cut the branch about 3 inches away from the trunk, and I noticed how dark the core was, so I cut it really close. See how dark that is right in there? That's all fatwood. Very, very good fatwood. So we're going to go ahead and split it right now and just see how dark it is on the inside. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Beautiful, beautiful fatwood right there. And that's a good place to look. You see a downed pine tree. Look at the branches where they're growing out of the tree. And if they have been damaged and they're maybe a couple of feet long hanging off the tree there, go ahead and cut it off and look. And usually out up to 2 to 3 inches from the trunk, you'll see, you can often see fatwood. This is a knot. A buddy of mine found it that he got from a rotted log, and the fastest way to know if there's fatwood in it or not is when you pick it up. It should be looking dry rotted as it is. It should be lightweight, but it's not. It's heavy. So here's one that I already split, and again, look at that dark color. Get that very, very strong smell, that almost turpentine smell. This stuff will burn wonderfully. So there you go. Several ideas to look at for fatwood. And in this case, right in here on this one, like I said, there is a little bit of fatwood in there, but it's beginning to dry out. But there's a little bit in there, and you've got that punky wood that you can use for holding a spark. So there's some ideas. Hope you enjoy this video. Again, this is Dan at Hardwood Hollow Bushcraft, coming at you from the beautiful Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. Remember, when in the woods, always practice proper firearm safety, and remember, better to be prepared today than to wish you were prepared tomorrow. This is Dan, Hardwood Hollow Bushcraft. I'm out.
Storm clouds are building above the timber.